My dad is dropping heavy hints that he is having an affair with his 29-year-old coworker. Today, I experienced the definition of F around and find out. Some backstory: almost a year ago, my family experienced the loss of my grandpa, my dad's father. It was sudden, and it struck my father really hard. He started having more emotional outbursts, being more reclusive, etc., and we tried our best to be understanding and help him in any way he needed. He found himself a therapist and seemed to be working through a lot of his feelings and thoughts. He still wasn't acting entirely like the man we once knew, but death affects everyone differently, and this made his behavior easy to excuse. My dad and I don't live in the same city, so we often meet up at halfway points for lunch. We have always been close, so it's commonplace for us to talk about our feelings, emotions, and recent life events with each other. Now to what happened. During our first lunch since my grandpa's passing, I noticed my dad talking a lot about this new girl at his work. We will call her Stacy. He said that Stacy was helping him a lot with his trauma and being there for him. Stacy's husband had been through some similar traumas that my dad had experienced, and that was being brought up in therapy, so he said she offered him support. He really felt he could be himself around her. He made it abundantly clear that he did not feel he could be himself around his wife of 20 years, my mom by the way, but that he could with Stacy. I thought this was an odd comment to make, and I think this is where my suspicions of their real intentions began, but I knew he was struggling. It made me feel relieved that he had someone he trusted. It struck me a little weird that she was 29, but again, sometimes workplaces can create weird and unexpected friendships, and with me being 26, I wondered if maybe he saw her as another daughter since I wasn't able to be around much due to distance. He assured me that Stacy was married to a man named Andrew. They were strictly friends. But in his own words, people from his work had started to think something was going on between them, so they had stopped talking at work and had moved to texting. He even went so far as to say later in the conversation that he thinks a strong marriage should be able to survive someone cheating. I assured him that that wasn't healthy and that I'm not sure what kind of relationship he wanted with his wife, but I did not want a relationship founded on infidelity. Obviously, my alarm bells were going off. With the little information I had on Stacy, I went and found her online. I stalked her, and just like my dad said, she was seemingly in a young, happy marriage with Andrew. She kept her social media pretty private, but from what I could see, she looked like your average 29-year-old woman. I couldn't possibly imagine what she would want with my dad, and if anything, I thought maybe my dad had a work crush that he was reading too much into. No one wants to think that their dad could be capable of a full-blown affair. Over the next few visits with my dad, I would hear him continually talk about Stacy when telling stories about work or discussing his friends. She always seemed to come up. I couldn't help but notice that he would avoid calling her by name. She would just be she, or her, or the girl from work. It's as if he completely forgot the things he had told me about her, or as if he was afraid to say her name around me. Infidelity is never mentioned again, but he is always talking about how he's fighting with my mom, Lily. How as he goes through therapy, she might not like the man that he's becoming. He tells me how he's standing his ground more often and getting into verbal arguments with her. I imagine this is self-sabotage due to his guilt because of the cheating. Fast forward to today, about a year since I first heard about Stacy. I went on my laptop, which I do not use often, and I opened Instagram. I realized I still had my dad's login credentials saved on my computer from a one-off back in 2016. My dad is and always has been sketchy with his passwords, so I assumed that likely it wouldn't work, but I tried the login anyway. To my surprise, I was in. I won't even pretend like I didn't know exactly what I was looking for or like I'm above looking through his private messages. This is also where I effed around and found out. I opened their messages, which were pretty bleak at first. I thought that I could rest my suspicions, more like hoped, until I couldn't. It started out with sending corny photos to each other. Things like, "You can kiss me whenever you want, I'm yours," and "Your arms feel like home and I'm homesick." Really juvenile weird stuff. Things I wouldn't send to a coworker if you paid me. Still in denial, I kept scrolling, and that's when I saw it. Revealing photos, from only her though, thank God for saving my eyes. Then, I saw the full-blown dirty texting conversations they were having, and discussions about their existing partners and the potential of leaving them for each other. Conversations about their plans to sleep together for the first time, etc., you get the picture. All of my suspicions laid out in front of me. He was willing to risk it all for a married woman 3 years older than his daughter. He was willing to hurt the woman he had supposedly loved for 20 years, destroy his family, destroy Stacy's family, for what? Absolute freaking selfishness. The worst part for me was that they actively talked about their existing partners in this chat. Stacy is always making fun of my mom. Does Lily wear lacy bras for you? Does Lily let you go down on her with her bush? As if Stacy couldn't become more of a disgusting human, as if she's not already sleeping with a married 53-year-old father of 2, she has to degrade his wife, an innocent victim in this situation. They assure each other that they love their current partners so much that it hurts, and they don't understand how they can have the capacity to love 2 people at the same time. It's disgusting and childish. I don't know how this ends. They still work together, closely together. I cannot bring myself to tell my mom. I don't want my dad to know that I know. I don't want him to feel backed into a corner like he has to tell my mom. I want him to tell my mom because he knows it's the right thing to do. I have looked up to my dad my whole life, and I feel like the whole view I have had of him as this selfless, loving, caring family man has been shattered. I'm so disappointed in his actions, and I don't know what to do. It's eating away at me. Update 1. So, I finally called my mom. She and my dad had spent the day together at their cottage, so I waited until they were home and then asked if she could go somewhere alone so we could talk on the phone. Her reaction was nothing like I imagined. She sounded like she already knew. Her reaction also made me feel like this wasn't the first time this has happened. She laughed and asked me what I thought I saw. She blamed herself and said that she doesn't meet my dad's needs. I explained to her that it wasn't fair and that she doesn't deserve to be lied to, cheated on, and put at risk for STDs. I said the way they spoke about my mom in the chat was disgusting, and that whatever going on was wrong. She asked to see the screenshots, so I sent them to her. She kept reassuring me that her and my dad were in it for the long haul and wouldn't divorce. I told her I didn't care about that. I said no matter her decision, I supported her either way. Even though it wasn't what I was anticipating, I felt relieved. I felt like a weight had been lifted. She thanked me for telling her and said that I would always be her sweet girl. Everything seemed to be going well until she spoke to my dad and called me back. I don't know what happened with the conversation between her and my dad, but it's clear that he is a master manipulator and not at all the person I thought he was prior to all this. My mom's tone had completely shifted on the phone. She was scolding me. He confirmed the affair, he confirmed everything I had said and brought forward to her. Somehow, they're blaming me. They're telling me I'm wrong. My mom told me that she's read all the screenshots I sent but had nothing to say about them. They're staying together, and in her words, this is just a bump in the road. We've had highs and lows, and we'll have lows again. I said I would support her either way, so I can't be mad, but I can't help but be sad at how low she thinks of herself to accept this behavior. I love your dad, and he loves me. What a horrible message to send to your child. She told me that guilt does bad things to people and that she thinks I got myself worked up over nothing. She told me it was wrong of me to look at his Instagram messages and that it was a breach of trust. Ironic considering my dad committed the biggest breach of trust there is in a marriage. I also never would have looked at his messages had he not planted the seed of infidelity in my brain. She explained that my dad is very angry with me, and she doesn't know if our relationship is repairable. I assumed my dad would be mad at me, of course, but for my mom to seemingly side with him and turn her back on me too is almost too much to take. I know she's being manipulated, but this is where it ends, I guess. I can't stand to look at either of them. I feel like I was just orphaned. I can't fight a fight someone doesn't want me to on their behalf. Deep down I know I'm not to blame for this, don't get me wrong. But it's really hard to not feel awful when your parents, whom you've trusted, turn their back on you. I do feel like I did right by myself in telling my mom the truth, but I can't help but think that everything would have been easier if I never said anything. My dad still follows Stacy. He has blocked me and my fiancé on all social media platforms. He's quite literally showing that he chooses his affair partner over his daughter. I know he's reacting out of embarrassment and anger, but I've blocked him in return. He doesn't get to choose when he comes back into my life. All of this hurts a lot.